Should we open with the closing or close with the opening?
We are Brightside Home Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds. Welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The home theater podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
Nice. I'm sitting here looking for buttons, and I don't have to push them anymore.
Live and
John's
direct.
Here. It's great. I don't have to hit the
sounds,
the scenes.
Ooh. Steve After Dark.
Oh, yeah. God, goodness me. Just bear with me tonight, fellas. I was talking to John just before the show. I am shattered. So it's been lots of very late nights, very early starts, and I am exhausted. I'm so tired, I couldn't even mess around with the scenes tonight, which I normally do. That's how tired I am.
You had to say it in plain old English.
Yeah. Just no messing.
No.
Oh.
All right.
So, yes.
It's good. I can keep up with you then. Because
Yeah,
I'm coming in.
cool.
I like how we're starting late per usual. That's the way it's going right now. We're starting late, and you just announced to everybody, like, John and I were talking. It's like DJ was not here.
Oh.
It's like,
yeah, the things we were saying about the people in the chat. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean,
Me?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. No.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was in the middle of work today. Like, I haven't posted the show yet. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So luckily I carry my laptop everywhere. And was able to post the show mobily in a dealership parking lot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Hey. Welcome to the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah. Paul says, I thought you were on holiday, Steve. I am on holiday, Paul. I am. Do you not see the darker complexion? It's I'm still down in Spain. I'm still on holiday, but it's just something happened. I don't know if it happens with you guys, but it does with me. It seems very, very late. Get to bed and then up early. As soon as I wake up, I'm up. I can't go back to sleep. And so I think I'm operating on less sleep than I do when I'm at work. So, yeah, just so tired.
Yeah.
But I've got 3 more days before I go back.
Of vacation that
yeah,
you're getting tired on.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I could get some sleep in that time. We'll see.
Yeah.
But there we go. First world problems and all that.
Yeah.
I got nervous, John. Did you, like, when he said he shattered, I was like, oh, no.
Oh, not that. Yeah,
Did I not pick up on this? I'm like, is this going to be one of those shows? Is that what shattered means? I'm like, because when you say that over here, it's like,
yeah, no.
we
was a
got
second
bread
syllable.
on the
yeah.
floor.
Yeah, no. So just do bear with me, guys. But there we
Absolutely.
go. But it's been a fun, very fun holiday. I'm not complaining about it. It's just it's catching up with me in terms of feeling very tired.
Steve, you at 50% are still better than DJ and I at 100. So
Yeah.
we're
Oh man,
we're still in good hands.
It takes two of us to get to your 50.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true. I know that's not true. You'll be carrying me through this one. But luckily, I've got some exciting stuff to talk about when we get to the experiences. Although,
Nice.
of course, HT Light, diet HT, because it's been through these rather than through the proper system.
I have a little bit of that as well.
Oh, cool.
Because of my trip. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I've got some really cool stuff to talk about. I'm actually really excited about some of these.
Nice.
And there's been lots of talk about one of them all over Twitter, all over the media. They've clearly done some serious work at trying to promote this. So looking forward to that. But just bear with me.
Oh, of course. Actually, while we're at it, before we get to the chat, we have a new Patreon member at £5 member. Martin Jordan joined the chat, joined Patreon for us. I think it happened literally during the show last week. And I saw it, and I still haven't even opened the email. I'm just reading the thing. I haven't opened it. Again, another person I haven't thanked yet personally. But yeah, so thank you, Martin Jordan. He might have pulled it now already because I didn't think of it.
Well, if you don't care.
Ungrateful bastard.
You don't get
I am not. It's like, but yeah, so I think Martin is trying to work, help John out, because if we can get that up and I can give John a salary, there he goes. He's all set.
Yeah,
So,
hey, yeah.
Notice John comes back. Patreon supporters start coming back.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
I don't.
Yeah.
'Cause nobody said boo while he was gone about doing it, and I'm not blaming you, Steve. That's you and I. Like, let's just start talking. We don't. I don't guess. And John's like, let's bring in the money, baby. Bring in the money. Show me the money.
Not working, so
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thanks, Jordan. Really, Martin, not Jordan. Jordan's my plumber. You don't want to be Jordan. Martin Jordan. So thank you. Yeah, you want to, I got the, let me pull up the, if you want to, while I'm doing this, if you want to be like Jordan, go to patreon.com/Brightside Home Theater. And you too can, John, you take it from here.
You did such a good job, DJ.
If you don't know what Patreon is by now, you got to be brand new to podcast.
Well, should we say hi to everyone in the chat? And then there's one quick thing we should do. So we've got Steve Att was first in tonight. Obviously, Steve Att's in the chat. Nice. Mike Schramm's in. I suspect there'll be some mention of Mikey a bit later.
Mike who? Who?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you gone deaf as a result of CEDIA, or was it just too loud?
Oh. Yeah.
Van Gool's in. Paul Hurt is in. We've got, let's see, Jordan's in. Hi, Jordan. BJM is in. Dom's in, saying bonsoir, very classying up the joint with his French. We've got DSG Spartans in again, and not local to me at the moment. Hopefully will be by next week. And Bill McAllister's in. Hi, Bill. And we have got, that seems to be everyone that's shown up so far anyway, although I think we've got a fair few more looking at the numbers. And Jordan mentioned something that I think we ought to just deal with, top of the shop.
Yes.
Very, very, very sad news about James Earl Jones. And bearing in mind, the three of us are lifelong Star Wars nuts. I think it's only fitting, isn't it, that we deal with that first. Horrendous, horrible news. Really terrible to hear. 93, as someone I know said, obviously a very good innings. It's pretty good, but still, he's the sort of person you want to live forever. He will do, of course, with his work, as it were.
He will.
But he will be much missed. So very sad news. But luckily, we can continue to enjoy all these movies.
Yeah, it was funny is, all these, even these past years, and watching the latest Jack Ryan, right? And he was in Jack Ryan show, and I remember seeing him, being like, "Oh wow, it's cool. He's still alive." Because you knew he was getting older, and he showed it in that, and it's like every time you saw him in something, it was like you're just grateful, because it was like when we were younger, I felt like he was old. You know what I mean? Like when you're really young, and he's like, and now we're older than he was when we thought he was old when we were kids.
Well, he was 50 when Star Wars came out, right? So
was he? 43 years? No. Star Wars in 77 was, maybe, no, something like that.
Close, right?
40s probably. He was probably in his 40s.
Yeah, because it's 50 years ago, isn't it?
It's been over 50 years.
It's 43, okay.
Yeah.
But still, when we were 7, that was old.
Oh yeah, that's isn't that, and that's what's, but then even getting older, when Lion King or Hunt for Red October. Right.
And Field of Dreams.
All of these things, and you keep seeing him as he grows older. And then, like I said, in the latest Jack Ryan, and you're like, man, it's great seeing him. And now when I saw the news, I was like, oh man, it's like, it is shocking. And like you said, it's like he's 93, but you're like, it's sad. It really is. You're just like, oh man, there isn't going to be another opportunity to be grateful. And now you're just like grateful for what you've seen and what you have. So.
Well, and I'm sure you've all seen the the image on the, every time one of the Star Wars cast passes, there's that cast photo that they have online where they just turn the one that just passed translucent blue,
Ugh.
and the problem now is the photo is way more blue than it is.
Yeah, it's Hamill and Ford
and Anthony Daniels. There's only 3 surviving.
of course.
Of the main cast left.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Star Trek Day the other day, and there's only a couple of, there's Bill Shatner and I think George Takei. Walter Koenig I think is still alive. But yeah, that's the problem when the things we liked 50 years ago, those actors were in their 20s and 30s then. So
right. It's funny you say that too. It's like our buddy John Thompson and I love the show Big Bang Theory, and they had the entire cast, almost the entire cast of Star Wars, with the exception of Harrison Ford, was on there. And when you watch those episodes, the episode with James Earl Jones actually had Carrie Fisher in that episode as well.
Right.
And you're like, you see these things, and obviously Mark Hamill ended up showing up on the show as well. And it's like, I remember just maybe a week or so ago seeing that James Earl Jones episode and thinking, oh, he's still alive. And then you see Carrie Fisher, oh, she passed away. Right. And now I'll see those up. And it's like, you see these things and it's like, they're so iconic that they're put into TV shows about being iconic.
Right.
It's like their icon is becoming icons in icons. It's like it's crazy. So, but yeah, it is very, very sad news.
And I know the two of you will have tried to block out his role in Conan as Tulsa Doom, but he was there, guys.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
The very convincing turning into a snake.
Excellent special effects. I think we did clay stop motion in art better than that back when we were in high school.
It's rough.
It was pretty bad.
But his performance, he was creepy. Like, he was scary in that movie.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with him. It was more just the budget and the timing of it. But
I wish. Go ahead.
That's right. I was just going to say, one of those actors, and there aren't many of them, but one of those actors who you could just literally have him read the phone book, and you wouldn't be able to take your eyes off it. Just him, Charles Dance, David Attenborough, guys like this with just voices that have no equal really, and you could just listen to it forever. And he's absolutely one of those for me, no question about it.
Yeah.
His voice was hewn from granite.
And I don't know how true this is, so don't take my word for it 100%. But I read somewhere that he made more money in his lifetime from saying this is CNN than from every movie appearance combined or something like that. It was crazy. For one line voiceover. But
yeah, and that's a good contract.
Yeah.
Because I would have just been like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm honored. Yeah. Screwed.
Exactly. Yeah, he didn't give his voice away for free, that's for sure. He got paid for that.
And as Steve Att says in the chat, he's like, and he was stutterer. He had a voice, what do you call it, impediment or whatever. And he had to get over speech impediment. There you go. And was he also dyslexic? I forget if he had that one. I think Jay Leno was. But yeah, it's like, you see these people, and that somebody like a James Earl Jones who's known for his voice, and he was a stutterer, right? And it's like you have these things, and it's these people overcome these things, and that's how they get to be successful. And people that are gifted with just they never had to overcome anything, and they're not successful because it just came easy. He had to work so hard at just speaking, and then he took that work and just turned it into an entire career, right? And it's like it's really, really amazing. And it's like when you hear, and they do mention that in the Big Bang Theory. Were you a stutterer as a kid? They listed all that stuff. It's pretty funny.
But then I think that's why they have sometimes careful how I say this, the diction, the way that they talk, the cadence, it's very deliberate, very measured, and very thought about. And so that his tone of voice was fantastic, but the way he delivered lines, in any movie, be it Soul Man, which I happen to absolutely love that film. I know it's very tricky these days, but I love the movie.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it was tricky at the time, in fairness, but it's very, very, very tricky now.
That was the point of it.
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, there's the Harvard professor in that. He's absolutely fantastic. And the way he delivered the lines, very, very measured. And that's very often the mark of someone who had a speech impediment, who had to learn to form the words in their minds before they said it. You and I, and everyone probably listening to this, can just talk. Just words come. It's fine. But if you can't do that, and there is this disconnect between the brain and the voice box, as it were, crude term, I know, then you have to think carefully about how you put those words out. And so it's funny interesting how that can then translate into a performance in later life. I mean, he was fantastic. It was so good. And again, in Coming to America and movies like that, where he just had such presence. He was great. Very, very good. And again, Field of Dreams. And of course, the ending of Field of Dreams now has a different kind of meaning now as he walks into the corn. But I must rewatch that. I've got the Blu-ray of that. I'll have to rewatch that this week. Very, very cool. And we will be much missed. But as Scruffy says, I mean, he did sell the rights to his voice, didn't he? He sold those to Lucasfilm. Yeah. So
Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
If we ever get Darth Vader again, there's no.
It's always going to be him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I was going to say too is we were 7 when Star Wars came out, and we look back on, James Earl Jones as the icon that he was, and it would have been, what was it that he became Darth Vader? Like, was he an icon? Was he anything? I don't mean that in I know he was in Conan, but it's like, was it like we got James Earl Jones to do the voice, or was it like we got this guy? And then it's like, oh my God, it's like, who is that? And then his career then also, which is kind of, I just thought of it now, but it's kind of a huge compliment. His career actually enhanced Star Wars. Because of the person he becomes later, you're like, oh my God, that's the guy that's Darth Vader's voice? That's amazing. You know what I mean? At the time, they just hired him because of his voice, but then his career actually enhanced. How many people actually enhanced Star Wars after the fact?
Yeah.
And he was a later ad, right? Because Dave Prowse voiced Darth Vader.
And you've heard that.
I've heard it. Yeah. And they were like, we need somebody else.
Did I tell you guys a story about that? So he was a Bristol boy, is Dave Prowse, or was Dave Prowse, which is obviously the city near to where I live. And so, of course, you'll hear the normal audio, Luke, your father, this is how he's sort of talking. But he famously, an ex-girlfriend of mine, ex-girlfriend of mine, she went to primary school with him. And her claim to fame was that he used to pull her hair. And so her claim to fame was, Darth Vader used to pull my hair at school.
Nice. Nice.
She used to love telling people that.
So he had a crush on her, is basically, because that's what little boys do.
Force crush. Force crush.
Force crush. Force crush.
But I think he was a stage actor, wasn't he? He was at New York, stage actor. James Earl Jones, he was known within the industry, but he wasn't a star. And if anyone took and again, if you hear the raw audio, it's dreadful. Dave Prowse. He looked the part physically, but he couldn't do the dialogue. And so James Earl Jones just completely changes that character.
Right. We've had this I know John and I have had this conversation in the past. It might have been on a show. It might have been, I don't know, at a playground. I don't know. But if they never change that voice, is Star Wars what it is? Because you hear that voice in the British accent and everything, and you're like, there's no threat there. It's like, it becomes a comedy, really.
Yeah.
And that sucks for Dave Prowse, because he really thought, and I feel bad to say that, and we only know that in hindsight because we never knew that for years until later you found out, after knowing James Earl Jones literally all the way through, Return of the Jedi. And then you find out later that who's Dave Prowse? Oh, you knew the name, but like, oh my God, they were going to use that voice. And then some special editions or something maybe comes up and you realize, and then you hear it and go, whoa. if that's all that reality was, I don't know if Star Wars takes off.
Oh,
Because
I mean,
does
Darth Vader
become
is a
comedy.
joke.
Yeah.
He's a joke. I mean, again, I'm sure that it sounds a bit bad because, of course, David Prowse has left us as well. So, you don't want to kind of raise up one thing and then, by dropping another.
Right.
But he was only ever hired for his stature. I'm sure Lucas had. And bear in mind, Lucas was planning on doing this all along. I mean, he had a number of characters in there who you couldn't see their faces. So, Anthony Daniels being one who, of course, although was able to keep the role. So Lucas must have planned all along to potentially tinker with the dialogue and the audio, and Dave Prowse was never sensibly going to be the way it was going to go.
What if they just screwed up? Like Lucas really just didn't know what he was doing, and he put James Earl Jones and C-3PO and Anthony Daniels and Darth Vader. Those voices, he'd be like, "Wow, what a disaster of a movie!"
It
this
would
is
have been
my
different.
counterpart, R2D2. What the hell?
It would have been different. But TSG Spartan, again, as I say, local boy. So he used to show up to schools in Bristol dressed as the Green Cross Code Man. Yeah, Dave Prowse was known as that before ever suiting up as Darth Vader, and that's because he was a big guy. In the Green Cross Code, I think you guys have got that there, haven't you? That's the look both ways before you cross the road, and that stuff. So that's what
they just let us run into traffic.
Yeah, we don't really have anything.
Yeah, well, it was called the Green Cross Code, and he would turn up and do. I mean, before I was in Bristol, but he would, he would show up to schools doing that. But yeah, Darth Vader was the role. I mean, both him and James Earl Jones really were synonymous with that.
Yeah.
Because again, I think if you watch Vader and you turn off the sound, there is a physical performance there as well. The way he walks, even when you see him first off, before he's got any dialogue, the way he moves and that's all Prowse. That's not James Earl Jones. So there's the two things come together. I mean, it's all synergy. I mean, if he skips onto screen, doesn't matter what James Earl Jones says.
Right.
It's not as good.
No.
Moonwalks.
Now it becomes a musical.
Yeah. So there's the two actors bring this character to life, and no doubt Hayden Christensen, when he's in the suit, is copying what he's seen done before. But anyway, it doesn't take away the fact it's very, very sad, as I say, that these guys have left us, and the original cast are dwindling ever more. But I mean, Hamill and Ford seem to be going strong. They're going to be around forever. We're not going to be losing them anytime soon.
Harrison Ford's in his mid-80s now, so
but he's fit as a fiddle. I mean, he's still doing action stuff, and and look, he breaks his leg every time he steps foot on a Star Wars set.
Right.
But he still seems to kind of, and
he
still seems to sort of
plane he gets in.
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah. This guy's going to live forever. Nothing's going to stop him.
Yeah.
But there we go. Never mind. But anyway, it's important that we acknowledge it anyway, even though it's Brightside. A very sad passing, but again, as it's Kevin Smith who says, isn't it, big bucket of win? We'll just nick that for now, but there we go. He will be missed.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's do this before we get to some home theater stuff. I have some progress on the house, and it has to do with like some fun stuff regarding me. Look at, I'm working on my chimney. I got to get this done. I did this. This took 2 days. First part, like I did the last 3 top rows I did in an hour yesterday. And on Sunday, I spent probably 3 hours doing up until there. And it took me a little longer to do. And for people listening to the audio only podcast, I'm looking at my chimney and the stonework I'm doing around it. But I got to go all the way around it. And, it is something. This isn't just aesthetics because I have to have the house sealed for my next inspection. So this is part of it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. My legs are killing me because I have to climb up onto the roof of the house and do this and bring all those stones up there and then choose the right stone and cut the stones and not fall off the little bit of scaffolding that I created for myself there. And it's like my roof is a 12 pitch. Go ahead.
Do you have to have guidelines, like safety harnesses and stuff over there? Because you do in the UK, you'd get into a lot of trouble if you were up on there without any kind of safety stuff.
Nope. Maybe if I was a job, but it's me as a homeowner, I can knock myself out and jump up on a roof. And it's like, what are they going to do to me? Tell me to get off my own roof? It's like, I don't know. I'm like, nope.
And how long did it take to do?
So let me see, like from the bottom, let me see, I'll bring up the picture closer for people. So from, so from the bottom down here up until this red brick right here, brown brick, that took me probably 3 hours. And then from there up, I did in about an hour. I came home after work, had a mix. You got to make the mix again. And then you start putting them on. You got to cut them and stuff. So, yeah. And it's like, so and then the only reason I stopped is it looked like rain. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm like, 'cause dark clouds came in, but it wasn't in the forecast. And I'm like, if this gets rained on and they start falling off, I'll be so angry. But it, you know.
So that was 4 hours up in smoke then.
Oh, jeez. You set that joke. I'm so mad.
I did.
Why didn't I see that
And
coming?
I felt bad because you were really explaining that. And I thought,
I know. I'm a donkey. I got to see these things coming.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, shoot. All right. You're going to bring up Santa comments too? Like, come on. But yeah.
No, it looks really good, and you'll have to render. You've got to put your mortar and everything in and all that as well. Have you Dejan?
Well, it's no more. This is like it's called a dry stack, and that's why I picked it. So no mortar goes in between. It's just called a dry stack. Like that's what you do. And then I haven't done this in like 20 years, so I'm just getting back into it and just trying to figure out like getting the rhythm again and be like, all right, this is cool. Like, oh yeah, you got to cut like this, break them, do this, and all that. And it's like, so this I'll do around the chimney, but then this is also going to be around my fireplace in the living room. And then it's going to be on the back. It's an accent. I'll be doing this as an accent wall in the foyer and on the stairs going down to the theater, all of that. It's like, I'll be doing this and I love doing it. It's tedious, but it's like Legos but it is a lot of fun. And it's something that like, when you're done with it, it's like, like anything else, like we do with our home theaters. Like I couldn't afford my home theater if I didn't build it myself, right? And this is something that people pay big bucks for. And it's like, oh, screw it, I'll just do it myself. And then everybody's like, oh my God, how, everybody thinks you're rich. That's not why I do it. I do it because it's fun. But then like, oh my God, you must be loaded. I'm like, nope, I just do everything myself. It's like, it doesn't cost as much, not nearly as much, not even, it's like a quarter of the price from what normal people would pay for me to do something like that. But yeah, it's just fun to do. And, and it's a challenge, especially on a roof.
Yeah, well, quite. So Scruffy says, watch out for bats.
Yeah. 2 Blackhawks flew over my house yesterday when I was up there. 2 Blackhawk helicopters low. And when you're up on your roof and the Blackhawks go by, I'm like, well, this is odd. This feels weird. But
are you gonna put like a cover on the chimney? Like a
yes.
Yeah, because we had an unfortunate thing a couple of months ago where there were lots of noises coming from behind the fireplace. We got a gas fire, but it's it's a real flame thing, and lots of noises coming from behind it. And I was like, I'll just leave it. But I eventually was worn down to get someone out, and so they pulled this thing off, and there was a magpie behind it. Baby magpie, which they then, and we got no cover on the chimney. And so they pulled out, magpie was fine and just kind of flew out the door, had the door open and out it went. But so you got a cover to go on it, like a cornice, what do they call them?
So let me see if I got a longer shot here. Like, so you could kind of see the top of it here, right? So that will get capped with, we have a flat black, cap that goes on it. And the idea is the reason I have to have that done is, for codes here, your house has to be completely sealed from the outside. So the stove that I have has a closer, it closes up inside the stack, and then the stack goes all the way up and nothing comes in around it. So the cap on it will, no water will go down. And then also there's mesh there so that no animals or whatever. But the entire thing is sealed, even to the point that when I close the stove, the house is still sealed from the outside. So and you have to have all of this done for that inspection before they can start insulating, because then they'll insulate through here too. So
Okay.
it's all part of the process, and it's kind of crazy that they make you do all this stuff, but at the same time, your house ends up to be so efficient that it's like nothing goes in and out. You have to have a air circulation system. It brings in fresh air and puts out the stale air, so your house is better for allergies and everything. And it all is expensive. And if they didn't require it, nobody would do it. So I get why they require it. You just wish they wouldn't, because then you wouldn't do it, but you would spend the money on like nicer cabinets or something like that. But at the end of the day, as much as you hate the code and as much as you hate to spend the money on it, I can't wait to see how efficient my house is later and be like, oh my God, this is so nice. You know what I mean? Like no heat's getting out, nothing's getting in. And it's like, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Santos is completely stuffed then, is he? Violent night too. Not at DJ's house.
I'm
just can't get in.
Down. I'm pulling it down. I'm done.
Just can't get in.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
just be ready for the questions, Deej, from the eventual grandkids. Just be ready for the questions. How does Santa get in then?
In the stove. I leave the door open. See? Already got it. So
yeah. Grandpa DJ put Santa on the stove.
Yeah. We got a few in here on the show prep. I'll do a little. I could talk CEDIA all night. Let me do a little. I got pictures. I've got all sorts of stuff. But I will say we're gonna have a special edition show is coming on Thursday. Mikey Schramm and I are gonna be talking. We're recording tomorrow night. It will be out Thursday morning. Special edition of Mike's experience of CEDIA. That's what we're gonna be doing. Like that's where it'll be. It's funny. It really kind of got reinforced this year. I said it last year. It's like you got great people doing all the great work that they do covering the event. You've got, Todd is tireless. Todd Anderson, AV Nirvana. The guy never stops. And it's like seeing him. I saw him the first morning that I was there, and I was just like, oh my God, a Todd sighting. I was so excited. I'm like, there he is, but he's interviewing somebody. And we were supposed to have lunch, and it's like he's 20 minutes late, so we had a 20-minute lunch, and it was like, but then I saw him later. Todd, I will not show the pictures that I have, but they are hysterical. They are absolutely. We were crying, laughing. The two of us, we were just trying to take a selfie of us together, and it was just. I'll show you guys privately after the show. Todd, I know you'd be okay with that, but he looks at me. We are crying, laughing, looking at these pictures. I showed him my wife later, and she was, oh my God, this is insane, right? And it's just like that kind of fun, but it's like, he looks at me and he goes, if those ever show up on the internet, I'm going to burn your house down. But they're not bad, but it's just, oh my God, we just had so much fun. But that's like, when I go to see it, I'm like, Mike, okay. And it's like, that's what I want to be. There's people like Todd covering it. And go to AV Nirvana, go to AV Nirvana's YouTube and get all the coverage there, the inside stuff. I just have fun listening, and it's like I'll talk about it with Mike. I'm going to be on HT Guys this week talking about it as well. And the conversations that I hear, I get in these lines for these demos, which are awesome, and it's fun to compare everything. But it's, to me, especially this second year where I'm not as overwhelmed with everything, and I'm not walking around going, oh my God. Now I'm listening to these people and listening to the dealers and listening to the conversations that they're having, and you're really hearing. And this is why I have the show. And I said it to Ara when I was on his show last week from CEDIA. I go, maybe I don't get invited back because I say stuff like I'm about to say now. I'm like, the dealers are all they're all talking. The conversations I'm hearing, they're all like, all right, I can get this much more out of my customers. I can tell them this when this is what I'm getting. And you're hearing how they're manipulating and how they're doing all this stuff. And that's the game, right? It's like you go to buy a car. It's the game. how do I get more out of it? How do I save money? How do I do this? Well, they're trying to make money. And those are the conversations that you have there. And it's like, and like Michael and I'll talk about, which is so much fun. I'm looking forward to that recording, is because now there's another person that's just like me, just a consumer. And he's walking around there and you're looking at this stuff and you're seeing, like I said to Ara the other day, you're looking at all these TVs and they're like, we've been number one and this is number two and this is this. And you go from TV to TV to TV and you're getting firsthand look, 30 seconds between them. And you're like, what's the difference? What's the difference here? Why are we fighting over this TV is better than this TV? This TV, because you're literally going from one TV to the next, one manufacturer to the next, and all of these things, and they're all so damn close, right? They're so damn close that you're like, blind test, you wouldn't, even side by side, you're like, okay, I think I prefer that one better. But then like, and that's brand to brand in competing brands, same technology. But then you can see what is nice going around is you see the different technologies in which are advancing further. Like obviously I think OLED is the clear winner. There's, I forget the names, but there are techs coming closer to it. I'd say this year, I mean, the big JVC Sony projector chat in competition, Sony, I think, took leaps forward to catch JVC this year with their tone mapping and stuff like that. JVC, still a great product, but what's funny is they've been the leader for so long in their tone mapping and how good it is that it just feels stagnant because you're like, okay, yeah, been there, seen that, done. I saw the JVCs. I'm like, yeah, that's what they look like. Okay, that's great. You know what I mean? It's not as big. Now you go in and you see the flagship. They had the Bravia 9, and you're like, oh my God, look at that toy. It is. It's really good. But as Mikey and I'll talk about, when you see their panels on the other display, it ruins you for projectors forever. When you see I think it was 130-inch wall that's an OLED, and the panel display, it ruins. You're like, oh my God, I can never see a big screen again. A projector and say that's top quality when you're seeing an OLED quality at 130 inches, and they'll go to 195. They have, but then it brings you to down to reality when they go it's $100,000 to $200,000.
I was just say it's like $1 million,
right? And you're like, oh, okay, I love projectors again. I'm back. I'm like, all right, but yeah. So that, I mean, that to me is what. So I'm looking forward to it again next year, walking around, listening, and just taking in the conversations, and meeting the people again. Last year I met people for the first time. This year you walk up and you're like, oh my God, I haven't seen you since last year. And these are people I met for the first time last year. A lot of friends were made last year, and now you go back and you're like, you know, you've been friends for a year with these people. And then people like Todd and I, I'll tell one story from the room when we got to do that in Brett's in Sound Room 4. That was an amazing experience. And of course, Mike and I'll talk about that. That's the sweepstakes that Mike won and got to be in the room. But even for me, it's, like I keep saying, which it still shocks me, but I like to say it. I'm like, I was part of the goddamn prize. I'm like, when did that happen? But being in that room, and then we had to go around and introduce ourselves, and we all start chatting. And for some reason, everybody goes, yeah, and I don't know. And they'd all look back, and I look at Todd and be like, I don't know when I met him, but it's just blah, 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 blah. And they go on and say this. And it's like everybody that mentioned Todd be like, nobody, and that's what I finally spoke up. I'm like, how come nobody ever remembers meeting you? It's like, I remember, like, Steve, you and I remember the first time we chatted, and and you remember meeting people. Todd and I talked about it last year. We were at dinner, and I'm like, I don't remember. How did we meet? And we have no idea. And I thought that was special till I was in the room that Friday night, and nobody remembers meeting Todd. It's like nobody, and Todd doesn't remember meeting anybody. It's like
he just always was.
Yeah, it's just like, and that's probably a testament to him, and that it's like you just feel like I feel like he's my brother, and I've known him my whole life. And you're like, how did we meet? I don't know. Were we in high school together? I don't know. It's just how he is. And what's funny is, for a minute, I thought I was special. And then I'm in that room, like, that's everybody with him. I'm like, I ain't special. He is.
There's something about Todd, bearing in mind that I think I'd had 2 DMs from him. And then he sent me nearly $70 or $80 worth of candy, across the Atlantic. Quite.
Yeah.
And I hadn't spoken to him or anything like that. That's just what he did. Completely off his own back. So he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And very cool because of it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And it's like, but then again, a lot of the people are like that. I told you some story. I told you one story about a manufacturer, I should say. And these people, they're just like us, right? And they're like, they're great people. Whether it's other, podcasters, YouTubers, all of these people, it's just great people like Todd. And it's like I've just become such good friends with Todd that I can focus on that. But anybody that's been on this show, anybody that I talk about, all of these people they're just great people, and they're all exactly like that. And you're like, you're like, oh my God, I just met him or them or this. And it's like, and they're like, why are they opening up to me this way? And you're like, oh, and I have multiple stories of this, and I'm sure Mike will too when he comes on. And there's a lot of, this is what happens in Denver stays in Denver, and you get a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and it's a lot of fun stuff, and industry insider stuff that we all know, that we've said on this show. Like, I can't tell you everything because I know some stuff, but it's fun stuff like that, and meeting these people, and and again, this is something that I've looked forward to, I've dreamed about my whole life, my whole home theater life since the 80s. And now here I am, I'm in it. And like I said to, we're out at dinner last year, and I'm like, oh my God, I was with, people from Kaleidoscape and people from, other manufacturers, and we're all hanging out, and these are all big people in the industry. And I'm like, what the hell happened? How did I end up in this room? And they know me. It's like, what the hell? And then I did say this to Mike this past weekend, and we're looking around, especially in that room, in sound room 4, and it's like some of the big names in there, and some of the, in the industry. And I said to Mike, I go, I owe me being in this room to the listeners, to Mike, to guys like Mike, and all of these listeners, because all of these people, how they know, and the credibility this show gets, it's because of the listeners. It's because the listeners go on to their shows. On there, you got to meet DJ. You got to do this. Brightside Home Theater does this. You got to do, Brightside talks that. And all these other shows, anybody I meet now is like, yeah, I know who you are. Your listeners are in my show. Your listeners show up on my channel. Your listeners keep saying this. Oh, I saw your listeners' t-shirt. I saw this. It's not me. They don't know me. They know the listeners. And you know what I mean? And that's what's bringing us credibility, bringing us to the forefront of other shows. And I'm like, well, how do you know me? Oh yeah, your listeners won't shut up during my show. It's like, sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. So yeah.
Yeah, but DJ, in fairness, and this is both you and John. I mean, and I can say this as someone who was a listener, and you guys very kindly invited me on. Is that you guys are both approachable as well? Well, but because I mean, off air, you're the same as you guys are on air. I mean, you're approachable. You're enthusiastic about this. You want to talk about it, all that kind of stuff. You're not how sometimes you hear people that appear on these sorts of things can be, as when the green light's on, they're all friendly and chatty, and the minute the green light goes off, they're distant and don't want to know. And that's not you, and it's not John either. You guys are just as affable and friendly, off air as you are on. Right. And so there's credit to you as well, DJ, again, and to John about because you are inclusive. You bring people in. You people want to talk, so it's not just all them. It's you as well, and you plural. And so you've got to take credit where it's due as well, because you could easily push people away. When the cameras are off, and you don't. No. So I think that you definitely deserve credit, both of you, for that as well. Because it's not just all them. Some of it's you as well.
Well, it's symbiotic, right? And it's like we all have a passion. And Steve, we have a friend, maybe we know who I'm talking about, who's like they tout on their shows and on their stuff that they love it and the passion and this and that, but then they complain that the money's not there, or they complain that I can't keep doing this if I'm not making the money. And it's like none of and that, I mean, literally some people do that, and you sense it because you get that vibe. But then there's one particular, and there's other people that do it, but there's one particular that we know of that literally will complain and like go on rants about not getting paid enough. But at the same time, when they're not complaining, they tell you how much they love this and they do it because of the passion. And you're like, well, which is it? And it's like the passion for this is what we do. John and I, it's like I sat down by myself to do home theater. John and I sat down to podcast because we have a passion for what we were talking about. I did this. You come in, the people sitting in the chat, listening, talk. It's all about a passion that I just want somebody with the same, like, it has nothing to do with anything other than home theater, passion, and talking and having fun. And that's why I get comments, when's Takeover Tuesday coming back? Because they like to hear other people talking about it, whether it's an expert in the industry or another listener. And it's just, I just want to hear more people talking about this stuff that are passionate like me. Right. And that's all it is. It's not a chore. It's not easy. I mean, right now for me, it's just probably like my schedule should not be fitting this in, but this is, how do I not? I love this. I love talking to you guys. And it's like, I love talking to the listeners. I love talking to, my wife asked me at CEDIA, like, is anybody coming up to you? I'm like, no, these are all dealers. It's not like M-Wave. It's like M-Wave is all listeners. It's all customers. It's all people that do this. Oh, yeah. There's no way. There's no way. You weren't there, Shane. There's no way. Talked about my shoulder many times. Oh, man, that's awesome. Wait, Shane, what are you doing awake?
Yeah, I was going to say, come on, if we haven't sent him to sleep by now. Yeah.
I know. We've been on for 46 minutes. You usually sleep 15 minutes in, buddy. That's awesome.
Actually, talking about people that we could listen to read the phone book.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say earlier when we're talking about it. I'm like, yeah, and Shane's the voice of like home theater that everybody goes, why don't I? Oh, my God. It's like... So anyway, I keep saying Shane, but everybody, Shane Lee for the audio only podcast later. But yeah, Shane Lee's in the chat. Thanks, buddy. I'm hurt. I kept trying to run away from him. No, there's no way he was there. I meant to text you too. I meant to text a few people to see if they were there, but then I ran into somebody else and I forgot about you.
Too busy ducking security.
Yeah, exactly.
Notice I said ducking security, just in case the mic dipped out.
Exactly. All right. What do you guys want? You guys want to hit a?
Yeah, roll the dice. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. What do we got here? We did that. Whose is this one?
Which one's that one? That's my one. Yeah, we can talk
about
about that. I don't think we've talked about that on the show. Yeah, of course.
No, not yet. All right. Here we go.
Okay, so this is Inside Out 2, which is one I watched this week. Again, this is a rental from iTunes, which I watched. We had a couple of hours spare on an evening and decided to watch this. Have you guys, either of you seen this? I don't know what you think of the first one.
No, not yet.
I love the first one.
Well, yeah, I missed this in theaters. I didn't go see it. I really liked the first one as well. And I've got it on 4K. I think I might even have the 3D as well, Blu-ray, but I've got the 4K disc as well. So I sat down and watched this week. If you like the first one, you're going to absolutely love this. Because what we have now is, I mean, it's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. Riley, who is the young girl from the first one, is now a teenager. And you guys will know that certain complexities come with teenagers. And this explores those fully in a way that is fantastically complex, but beautifully, beautifully presented on screen. This film is articulating some of the most complex psychological and emotional developments in a way that is accessible to kids and noticeable and recognizable to adults as well. The complexity in this story is conveyed through a simplicity that is impossible for me to explain, but it's fantastic. And I think I'm right. Someone will tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sure this has just become the biggest animated film of all time in terms of its box office. I think it has. And I can see why, having seen this. It's a fantastic story and really well done. And again, guys, as parents of previous teenagers and having all three of us been teenagers at one point, not anymore, in case anyone's wondering, just to be clear, it's absolutely incredible. And it deals with anxiety, and it deals with puberty, and it deals with all of these kind of very complex issues, and yet present them in a really good way. So film is fantastic. It really is. I mean, the script sessions for this would have been fascinating to listen to, because I know they do consult with psychologists, and they do try and incorporate that stuff in. And when you see it, you can see why. Now, in terms of the home theater, I can only say that I am certain this will be an absolutely fantastic disc. I think it's out here, as in England, sorry, within a couple of weeks. We are getting a 4K release. I think I had to import the 4K of the first one, but we are getting a 4K release here, again in England. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that, because this should be reference audio and video. There are a couple of occasions in this, even watching it in spatial audio, where there is a character talking. I mean, it's hard to explain, isn't it? But on a different level of consciousness to another character, and that is clearly all above the listening position. So if that's not in your Atmos overhead speakers when we get this at home, I'll be very, very surprised. And there are other moments where there's characters zipping around and they're talking as they go, and all that's going to move around the room for sure. It is exceptional. Really, really good film. And I cannot wait to get this into Cinema George and watch this properly in Atmos. Because, spatial audio is not proper Atmos, John. Yeah, I'll say that when DJ's listening, right?
Yeah.
But it's very, very good. And I really, really did enjoy this. This surprised me because I like the first one. I don't know if I love it. I really like the first one. But this is just straight up masterpiece material. It's exceptional. So, yeah, can't recommend it highly enough. And I see Jordan, my release date guru, as always, saying, well, our release date guru, forgive me, saying, yeah, absolutely loved it. Can't wait for the 4K release. 30th of September, there we go. Yeah, biggest animated film of all time and the 8th highest grossing movie of all time. Yeah. Goodness gracious me. So, yeah, absolutely awesome. And I can see why. And this is one of those rare occasions where a movie that has done so well absolutely deserves every bit of success that it gets. I'll be fascinated, guys. I mean, I know animated movies aren't always top of your lists, are they? But if and or when you do get round to this, I really will be fascinated to hear what you guys make of it. It's just one of those films where your jaw is open throughout the movie, not just by what you're seeing, but the way in which they're conveying these very, very complex psychological issues. It's awesome. Really, really good. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
I haven't seen the first one yet.
Really?
Yeah. And it's funny when you said that, like animated features aren't at the top. And it just was something that it was like with, it's not like even when that was out, it's not like I was avoiding content. It's just you're watching other things, right? And never. I think my wife went and saw it with a friend, or my wife and daughter went and saw the first one. I'm pretty sure she's seen the second one. I know John Thompson keeps telling me like he saw this before it was even out, and he's like, you gotta see this. It's awesome. And yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about it. It is on Kaleidoscope. I think I already own it too. Let me look. Nope, I don't. I just pulled it up. I looked. Nope. It says I can purchase it. So that means I don't own it. So I can buy it. But it is out on Kaleidoscope 4K. It actually has Dolby Vision too and Atmos. So it's one of those ones. But yeah, I mean, I want to see it.
When you see the first one, Deej, have your tissues at the ready, knowing what you're like for emotionality.
That's probably why I haven't seen it. Another reason. Everybody's like, oh, it's a tearjerker. All right, I'm out.
Well, it's not so much, I don't think, in terms of sadness necessarally. No, I mean, the message of the first film is that it's okay to be sad sometimes. That's the message of the first film. It's all right, but from the very inception of consciousness, it is what the first film begins with when a baby becomes conscious.
Right.
It's fantastic. And again, I think knowing you as I do, Deej, that very concept is enough to get people kind of welling up. And this film just builds on that in terms of emotional development with just the most incredible ways, how to convey visually something as complex as anxiety is just, it's awesome. I mean, like I said, I can't talk about it enough. And again, John, I mean, I know you are more animated animated movie kind of friendly. So I think it's well worth seeing. And if you like the first one, and it sounds like you do, then
I didn't see the first one until about 2 months ago myself.
Oh, wow.
I just saw it, and I don't own it. So actually, I'm waiting for the eventual 2-pack.
Yeah, quite.
And I'll pick them both up because I'm looking forward to seeing this. I almost went to the theaters to see it. It just didn't. We just didn't work it out. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I love the first. Really like the first one. Love it. I'm not sure, but I really, really like the first one. But I miss this in theaters as well. But I'm so glad I saw it how I saw it, because you could just engage with it. So yeah, very, very highly recommended this, and we must revisit this if and when you guys do see it, because there is so much to talk about in this. As I said, emotional complexity in this is off the charts, but done so simply. It's incredible. But there we go. Anyway, I'll stop getting too excited now.
I don't think you can do that.
No, do you know what? I think you might be right.
Yeah. Let's see. John, you want to do this one?
Mine will both be fairly quick this week, so it doesn't matter which.
How's this one for you?
That's fine.
Okie dokie. Here we go.
Okay. So my first one is a series on Netflix called Bodkin. I don't know that I would have ever found this if I had a job, honestly. It's just that I've watched, I guess to say, I would have never found it. Let me put it that way. I'm just actively scouring for
you're
any
out of
show
content
to watch, right? Because I had literally nothing left to watch. All that being said, this show, I am so glad that I found. The show itself is excellent. It takes place in a town called Bodkin in Ireland. It's 3 podcasters, so we have simpatico there.
Look at
but
that.
They're following up a story.
Which one's me?
The girl on the right. But they're following up on an unsolved mystery. It's a true crime podcast. They're following up on an unsolved mystery from 20, 25 years prior. But the show is really good. But I added it because of the home theater. Actually, this is I don't know if I mentioned, but it was on Netflix. Did have Dolby Atmos. It had Dolby Vision. It is in 4K. Visually, it's great because it's Ireland, so it's green and there's scenery and it looks fantastic. But this, for me, the audio really stood out for me on this. I thought the Atmos on this show was incredible, and it started right from the beginning of the first episode, and it was just super enveloping all the way around. I know, Steve, you like to mention the fly from the beginning of Evil Dead Rise. There's a similar scene in here.
Take a drink.
Yeah. But there's a similar scene in here, I think episode 6 or 7, with a bee flying around the room, and it was very reminiscent of that. And there's a standout scene and I didn't really pay attention because we just kind of binged through it, but it was episode 5 or 6. They're driving down an old dirt road in an old car that's just, if you've ever driven down an old dirt road in an old car, you know how it sounds, you know how it feels when you're in it. And I literally felt like I was in this car. It was jostling around over my head, behind me, around me. It was fantastic. So if you're looking for something to watch, like I said, the show is compelling enough anyways that it's pretty interesting. But I thought the Atmos on this for a streamer was top notch. It was really, really good. So I would recommend it for that also.
What kind of genre is it, John? Is it a drama? Is it horror? Because that description means it could be
horror. It's mystery. It's true crime. Like I said, it's a true crime podcast, and they are searching for this clues to a mystery. Now, it does take place around Halloween. Thanks to this show, I know how to say Samhain because I always thought it was Sam Hain whenever I saw that word written for that festival in Ireland. But it takes place around Samhain, so it's very Halloweeny and it's dark, but it's not horror at all. Like there's no real horror elements. It's just a good true crime kind of mystery show. It's only 7 episodes, so it's not super long. I don't know that it'll get a second season because it doesn't really need it. If there is, it'll be a completely new storyline because this is one and done. The story is wrapped and there's nothing else to do. So it's definitely worth checking it out.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I've heard nothing about it at all.
Yeah,
like I said, I hadn't either. I never would have found it. Like, I never would have even come across it. It's just like I said, I'm like going deep into the menus of every streamer there is, trying to find stuff to keep myself busy. So.
Yeah, and that's what Jordan's saying in the chat. He's like, didn't know about it, Bodkin, until just now. We'll have to check this out. And it's like, so it's like, so John, you're good. Don't get a job because you're enhancing and enriching our lives through your misery. So we're good. We're good.
For the podcast. So.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Once I figure out how to eat that experience, then I'll be good to go.
Exactly. Like, okay, so everybody ship mac and cheese to John in Houston, Texas.
Me,
not Ireland.
Yeah, not Ireland. Yeah. It's like John needs to eat and he's got content. So for us, that's it. And we'll work on getting your mortgage paid too. All right. Oh, God. Let's see quickly. Let me hit on this. Francis in the chat. He's like, hi guys. DJ, do I see the new SVS SB-17s in your future? Oh, yeah. I had a conversation. I was shocked when I saw them Thursday, the first day the show opens, and I walk over to the booth and Nick was busy with somebody, and obviously Larry's in doing his demos, and I'm just standing around, and there's Gary, and I'm like, hey, man, I didn't even know these were coming out. And he looks at me and goes, nobody did. I was like, oh, cool. I'm not stupid. Like I thought I just missed something, and they're like, nope, just unveiled them right now. Like that morning. And I was like, oh, cool. So yeah. Again, I talked about it with Ara. The technology inside these things, the SVS SB-17s, talked with, Nick and Larry as the week went along a few times. And definitely going to be putting 4 of these bad boys in my room. They have the same footprint as the 16s, but they utilize the space inside them. And then being in the Trinov room and learning about waveforming, and if I could ever do that, and you only need 4. And one of the things they said is something I said on the show here about taking my subwoofers and actually raising them up on the wall and don't leave them on the floor. And they're like, you can stagger them and do these things to create better bass imagery or to balance it out. And in that demo in the Trinov room, they're telling you, they go, if you move them up the wall, your subwoofer. I was like, oh my God, I'm talking about doing that. So I was like, there you go. So it's, it'd be cool if I can, if I can ever afford a Trinov and then have these things in there and do the waveform. But yes, Francis, you're dead on. I'm sure Mikey and I will be talking about it on Thursday's show about how impressed we both were with these subs. We did get to do a demo with them. That was pretty cool. It's really having Larry have been on the show and getting to know these guys. And then when you walk in for a demo, this is private, something to me that obviously, even if you're there, you wouldn't have known what this meant to me. But you go in the room and Mike and I are in there and we're hanging out. And then Larry's doing his demo with all these people filled in the room. And he goes, here, let me do this. And he pulls out the Turtles disc and he does a Turtles demo and he comes out, which is cool because he's done that in the past. But then when we're standing we come outside, Larry's taking a break and everybody's like, we haven't heard that in a while. And Larry goes, I haven't heard those 17s on the Turtles demo yet. And that was amazing. Like, we heard things that you hadn't heard. He heard things that he hadn't heard in that Turtles demo. And I'm sitting there going, and this is like my ego, like, wow, that's pretty cool because he pulled that out because Mikey and I came in the room. right? Because he knows we're associated. We love that demo. So he just did, but he hadn't heard it yet and he hadn't done it yet. And then he sees us and you're like, that's pretty cool. It's like, I like that. So, but yeah, Mike, we'll talk about it in the show. Mike heard something in a different demo that he'd never heard before because of those 17s. So tune in on Thursday for that. Let's see. Who wants to go next? Who had this one?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's you. All right. Here we go.
Okay, so I appreciate that might not be easy to see. I've had to take a poster image there because, of course, I can't get a screenshot. This is the 2018 Jennifer Garner revenge flick, Peppermint. Either of you heard of this, seen this, know anything about this?
Yes.
I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I saw it when it came out. I barely remember it.
Which is damning with faint praise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very passive aggressive.
Yes. Now, I had not heard of this film at all either until, I was with you, John, until I think about a month ago or thereabouts. And someone on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it this week, said that they were going to rewatch it. And I'm like, rewatch what? And they put a picture of this up, and I thought, well, that looks interesting. The poster image is interesting in and of itself. Yeah. And I thought, what is this Peppermint film of which he spoke? So I kind of went on IMDb. Reviews, by the way, are dreadful on this, like 29 out of 100.
So
it's red. Yeah. Well,
right.
Yeah. So I read the description, though, and it says, it's a revenge film. It's the classic, Death Wish with Jennifer Garner, basically. And that's always piques my interest. Anything like that, it's going to interest me. And of course, knowing the holiday was coming up, I thought, well, it's okay. I'll see if I can find it. It was on Netflix. So I downloaded it and I thought, right, this is going to be great. And so this week I went to watch it, fired up the download on Netflix, not available because it's now gone from Netflix. So having downloaded it, once it goes. Even if you've downloaded it, you can't, the license presumably is expired, you can't then watch it. So mildly irked and irritated, but not downtrodden and not to be outdone, I then went on to iTunes and just rented it because I couldn't not then see it. I was like, look, I'm going to see this thing. And it was in, it's 1080p. It was in 5.1, up to spatial audio via these. And it is absolutely archetypal revenge movie, and this is why you won't remember it, Deej.
Yeah,
because it's soccer mom who loses her husband and her daughter in fairly racially stereotypical and probably mildly troubling ways, loses these two because of gangbangers, and then she decides she's gonna get her own back, and that's every bit as cliched as it sounds. It's every bit as cliched in the movie. But I have to say, I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. It's actually, as far as these things go, they've made a decent fist of this, and they have actually tried to give it some interest, give it some heft. It also, I think, whilst it initially is quite racially troublesome. I mean, it's Mexican drug dealers, and it's all a bit dicey. There is a reveal in this, and I'm not going to spoil it, that I think makes the listener and the viewer question that approach. Very subtly, quite cleverly done. But anyway, in terms of film, it was good. The action's good. Jennifer Garner's clearly been working out and has obviously spent quite a bit of time getting ready for this role. Again, as I said, the film's 2018, so it's going back a bit. But she was good in this, and I did enjoy it. And as schlocky C movie revenge films go, and I mean C, not B, as far as they go, it's actually pretty decent. And I'll tell you now, it's not available, as far as I can tell, on Blu-ray in the UK, but it's available for like $10 on Amazon in the US, and it's a universal release. Of course, those are region-free Blu-rays. It's not available in 4K anywhere. I doubt it ever will be. And so I'm going to import the Blu-ray so that I can see it, because the Blu-ray, I am told, is in DTS HD 7.1. And there are some decent shootouts in this, so I can imagine it would sound quite good. And someone I think Dom says he's got the Steelbook. I assume he means of this film. In which case, it'd be interesting to see, Don, what you made of it if you thought it was decent home theater. But on the headphones in spatial audio, it was decent. Lots of movement with the gunshots and fights and everything else. Fairly bassy, and a relatively interesting story in the most cliched of ways. So I recommend this if you can find it. I don't know if it's gone from Netflix over here again. I don't know whether it will have gone from Netflix over there or whether it's, on Amazon Prime or whatever, but it'd be worth a rent if not for $3, because it's actually pretty decent. So yeah, and worth a revisit. Deej, have you got the Blu-ray or have you got it on Kaleidoscope, Deej?
I think I have the Blu-ray, which I could probably grab and throw it in, get the digital upgrade from Kaleidoscope for it. But I don't remember disliking it. But I do everything you said. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And it was very formulaic, like you said, and you're like, oh, been there, done that. But that never bothers me. And but I do remember. I remember when it came out. I remember being excited for it, and then being like, okay, that's what it was. But it was a good time. But yeah, I should revisit it now because it has been quite a while. I mean, this literally came out before I even had my 4K projector. So never mind, even the upgrades I've done since then. So yeah, I definitely should, revisit it. But
it predates the show, doesn't it?
It's not streaming anywhere for free in the U.S. either.
Oh, okay. No, right. Yeah, I think it must. It went. I think it went on the 1st of September because it said it's going soon. So of course I came out 31st of August, so I downloaded it before, and then when I came to watch it, it had crossed over, and then it was gone. Dom says, the French Blu-ray has 7.1 DTS HD MA in English, and then the sound mix is very good. I can see why, Dom, or hear why. So I will. I'm going to pick that up. I might actually import the French one then in that case, because it's a little bit closer to home, or see if I can get the plane on Saturday to just drop me off at Paris, just briefly run to a store and then complete the leg. Oh, cha-ching.
Yeah. It's $9 to buy on Blu-ray and $4 to rent. So you might as well just own it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because even for $9, if you don't particularly love it, and I think before you see a movie like this whether you're likely to enjoy it or not. Right. You like Death Wish, you like both versions, the new one and the old one. If you like these kinds of like Death Sentence, and you like these kinds of very, very schlocky movies, then you're going to get that here. And so, for $9, I mean, it's almost a steal. And again, 7.1 DTS HD. Yeah. I mean, so that'll upmix well to Neural X. Yeah. It's worth seeing. What was on the Kaleidoscope version, Deej? Or is it
HD? HD 7.1. Yeah, HD. It's in HD 7.1. It was $14.99, so I have to pay a little more. But yeah, it's HD 7.1, DTS HD 7.1. So yeah, I'm like, it's.
Well, this is one. Just don't pay attention to the IMDb reviews, and just give it a go.
It's tough, You see that stuff, and it's like it's not necessarily, I mean, it didn't pan out for me when I didn't pay attention on Trap, but. And thank you to everybody in the comments, like in YouTube, some emails, people are like, I love seeing this side of DJ. If I do that week after week, you probably wouldn't love it so much. It's neat because it's rare. So all right, let's see. Let me pull up one that I have. Where did it go? All right, there we go. This is one that from my week. So here we go. So this is Jason Bourne, the final or the last one. I don't know if it's the final one, but the last one from 2016, I think it was 2016.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was 2016. I don't think it was 18. I'm pretty sure it was 2016. But yeah, it's 4K HDR on Kaleidoscope, and DTS Master Audio 5.1, blah 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 blah, all that good stuff. Now here's the story behind it. On my flight home, I started watching. I had two flights that were like just over 2 hours long. And the first one I'd seen Bourne Identity recently. I'd seen Supremacy, but I hadn't seen Ultimatum. And I hadn't seen, I'd seen Supremacy, but it wasn't like hindsight. I started Ultimatum because that's what I went to. And there's a particular scene in that one that I really like. And so I wanted to do that. But then I was like, damn it, I got 2 flights. I should have done Supremacy and then gone right into Ultimatum, right? And that's my thinking on the plane. And then I was like, you know what? I'll do Jason Bourne. And so I ended up on the second flight after doing Ultimatum on my phone with my headphones and everything. I'd seen it before. I'm not telling you the home theater experience there, but it was really good. And I really enjoyed it. And one of the things I did want to say is the Bourne movies are really good for that kind of environment, right? Because they are a great home theater experience. They do enhance the movie. But the action in these movies, the story, especially what I found is like I got a layover in Chicago, and it's like you get off and now you just watch a Jason Bourne movie and you're walking through the airport like you're Jason Bourne. You're looking around. Okay, I got to take care of people. So you get to pretend for a little while you're walking through the airport like an idiot. But they do play well. It doesn't take away that you don't have the home theater experience, right? So then I go back and I'm like, they happen to have those ones. I flew Southwest and they were free. So that's why the first 3 were free, but they didn't have Jason Bourne. So while I'm sitting there, I get on the plane for the second flight and I'm like, I couldn't find it. I have HBO Max. I can stream that. I had free Wi-Fi on the plane. So I'm like trying to get it. Couldn't get it. I ended up actually just buying it on iTunes because I really wanted to do it. So then the flight, a couple of things happened. I got halfway through the movie and I got home and I'm like, I got to go right downstairs and finish this movie and compare and see how it did all of this stuff and make it. This is the home theater experience. Half the movie on the plane, half the movie in my theater. And that's what it was. So here we go. The home theater experience. Very high contrast in this movie. Jason Bourne, the third one, is very high contrast to the point that I was checking my settings. Like I said, it's in 4K HDR. But it was just like, I didn't mind it, but some of those dark scenes, there's no detail in some of those dark scenes because it just, all the dark is like, I'm looking for it and I didn't see it on the plane either. It was on my iPhone, but it kind of got a little distracting because things are so good now, right? The HDR is so good. There's so much detail, but the sound was pretty good. It wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't anything that you'd be like, oh my God, the bass wasn't this or that. And then that just got me to thinking, like I said, it's like these movies really do, like I said earlier, they're enhanced by the home theater experience, but you don't need them. I think this is a case where the movie itself, the story, his acting, his character, the Jason Bourne character, and how you get into the movie, this is the case where the movie actually enhances the home theater experience. Because the first, how many of them are in DTSX? There, you can get them there.
All 4.
All
5, I think.
All 5, yeah. With the Jeremy Renner one being, what was that called?
Yeah.
That was, I forget that one, the name of it.
Or Legacy.
Oh, yeah, Legacy.
Yeah.
But they're all in, and I remember you can get them in DTSX on Kaleidoscape, but it's the HD version. It's not the 4K version. So when I first bought them all, I was like, oh, let me compare that. And I was like, at the end of the day, it's like, I actually prefer in the first one, that car chase scene, I thought was better in the DTS Master Audio version than it was the DTSX version. I felt like I enjoyed the detail of that car chase and the music that's in it and how they're moving around the street. I actually thought the detail was better. And then the DTSX version had a little more bass, but I felt like that bass kind of muffled the detail that I was getting in the other one. That's my personal preference. So there is a difference there. I just preferred that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I actually like this backwards for a second, So I do know there's a difference, but at the same time, I don't think any of these would be considered reference of anything. But they are something that, in my opinion anyways, I wouldn't consider them reference. But they are movies that you're like, I got to see this in my theater. Because the story, the Jason Bourne character is just kind of like, it's just so much fun, and you want to be in that cinema environment in your theater. So, what are you thinking, Steve? You're tilting your head like, no, you're wrong.
I haven't. I've got them all in 4K and in DTSX. So they brought a box set out, from if I remember correctly, and they had them all in there. So I've got them all, and I've seen them all, but I haven't seen them for a while. And I remember them being pretty good, pretty solid. But I can't say hand on heart, oh, wow, it's they were referenced, but they are really good movies. And from memory, they were really good discs, but that's one I'd have to revisit. But they are very, very good. I think that, I see Van Gogh saying he really likes the Jeremy Renner one. That one took me about 3 goes to finish that. I wasn't sure he was quite suited for that role. But it's not a bad movie. It's just not up to the quality of the first 3 of the Bourne movies, and then of course we get like Jason Bourne then after those, don't we? But they are very good. And if I may, slight claim to fame, point of order, I've sat in the red Mini that he drives in the first one. I've sat in that, Universal Studios.
Nice.
Yeah, they had it there. Yeah, they had it on display there, and I sat in it. I was allowed to. I didn't break in. Driving it through the crowds. But they are very cool films, and perfect for flights as well, because there's lots of action as well. So if you want it to keep moving, you don't want lots of long talky scenes. With those, you need to keep going. So that was a great choice.
Yeah, and the fight choreography in these is so good. It's like you see how fast. It's like, because he's supposed to be so fast and instinctual, like everything. And he obviously in the first one he doesn't know why he has these instincts, and by the last one you're like, oh my god, you can't even see their hand. Either of them, either of the combatants in any of the fight scenes, you can't even see their hands moving. And they're not like, it's not like we're talking about these are martial arts experts that are in these movies. These are normal actors, and they still can choreograph these fights with these people. And it's just like, it's so fast, multiple people moving up and down, running walls, doing all that. It's like, it's a lot of fun to watch in that. Eddie in the chat saying, you do get an Atmos on Jason Bourne on Kaleidoscape, but it's available on 4K SDR. HDR version is the 5.1. Yeah, I did notice that. And what was funny is, like I was mentioning about the high contrast, it might be worth watching it in HDR SDR to get the Atmos, because maybe, I wasn't that impressed with the HDR. Maybe how much am I going to lose when it's that high contrasty? How much am I going to lose by going to SDR? So a lot of times I'll go with the higher picture quality, and I know the up mix is really good. I would rather do that, because a few times I've tried to go to the HD version to get the higher audio quality, and it's like, back in the day, I used to prefer sound over video, but now video's gotten so good. It's so important that with HDR and 4K, that it is such a backward step that even the sound, it's not that big of a backward step for me from going pure Atmos to what we upmix to. That to me isn't as big of a drop as it is from going to SDR or to HDR to SDR. So, any thoughts, John?
No, I haven't seen these movies in so long. I don't have anything to add. I own the box set. I have them all, but I haven't watched any of these movies in years and years. So, yeah,
and that's the thing. I just happen to be scrolling through, and I'm like, oh, cool. Let me try that. But yeah. So that is Jason Bourne. Let's see. What do we got next? Who goes next?
Take your pick.
I've only got one left.
Oh, yeah, that's John's.
Oh, this is you, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. So we did go to the theaters this week to check out Beetlejuice. And happy to report that I mostly enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a very good sequel. There was a few parts of it that I didn't vibe with necessarily. But I have a feeling that this is going to be an awesome disc for the house, at least visually. We've all seen Beetlejuice, so we know what the world looks like. This is very similar. They even really made a point to keep a lot of the practical effects and the animations and all that stuff the same as the original movie, which I was glad to see, because obviously technology, it's 40 years later almost, and they could have done a lot of these things with current technology and made them look very different. But I mean, you can see the sandworm in the back of this poster, so it's no spoiler that it's in the movie. And the animation, I mean, it looks like the same scene as it did in 1988 or 89, whenever this movie came out. So yeah, obviously I can't speak now to the home theater experience, but I'm convinced that at least visually it's going to be awesome. Audio wise, again, it'll be a Warner's disc, so it should be it should be very good. And like I said, the movie itself, it is a very good sequel. There was a few parts of it that I wasn't quite sure why we were going and doing, but yeah, Lydia and I both enjoyed it. It was great seeing these characters back. I don't want to spoil anything because I know a lot of people probably haven't seen it. I was a little disappointed with how they dealt with a few legacy characters that were non-returning. I'll let you figure out who that is. But
you got to think of one.
Yeah, obviously they had to address why some of these people weren't here. And yeah, so it was interesting how they dealt with them. But yeah, go see it if you haven't yet, and you like the first one. You know, obviously, it's a very similar vibe. So,
how many people didn't like the first one? I mean, isn't it like iconic? Like people are just
I mean, most people like it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know many that don't, but.
I've got the 4K disc of the first one, which looks really good. I've always really liked Beetlejuice. I remember seeing it in theaters, and you know, way back when, again, 87, 80, 88, whenever it was.
It was 88,
and, and I remember enjoying that. But I wasn't sure about the sequel because, again, it's kind of like I really liked the first one. I didn't think I needed the second one because I didn't feel there was a lot more story to tell.
And again, this isn't necessarily a story that had to be told. It's not like what was the first Omen that we talked about last week or what have you. We could have done just fine without it, but it didn't do a disservice to the first one. It definitely wasn't. It didn't feel like, because I mean, they waited a long time for a script that they liked, so it wasn't necessarily just a money grab, like that they would just out to do this for the bucks, because they could have done that 35 years ago. You know, they did kind of wait until they had a script that they liked. I heard Michael Keaton on Smartless a week or two ago, and he was talking about that. You know, there was many scripts that floating around over the years, and he and Tim just never felt like any of them were right, and they didn't want to do anything to that movie that so many people enjoyed unless they felt like they were going to do a good story. And like I said, they mostly did. It was a little clunky, but for me, it was. I'm definitely going to pick up the disc and look forward to watching it. So.
Yeah, cool. I definitely went on the back of that. That's good to hear. I wasn't sure what to think of the sequel. I kind of just had it at arm's length. But yeah, no, I'll get the 4K disc now for sure. Yeah. Oh, good. That's good to know.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I was waiting for this to come out on. I'll grab it on Kaleidoscape. Maybe I'll probably end up doing that and just watch the two of them back to back. And
it won't be
I haven't
long.
seen Beetlejuice in forever.
Since I mean, it's doing well in the theater, so it's not going to be one where they just rush to streaming in a week. Right. But it'll be on Kaleidoscape in 2 or 3 weeks, right? I mean, that's how it generally works.
Yeah. When it goes digital, it ends up on Kaleidoscape.
And we watched Beetlejuice last weekend, just because we knew that this was going to be coming out, and I hadn't seen that movie in 25 years probably, but had a good time with it. Yeah, it was fun. So
cool.
All right. Let's see. Steve, what do you want to do here? We got. How many do you have left?
Do you want to do the one that's in between the two that I've already done? That one on your pictures there. I think that's the one in the middle. Yeah, that's it.
That one.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to want to do. Yeah.
We're gonna want to do.
We're gonna want to do that one.
We're gonna want to do that. Should we keep saying this and tease everybody, or do we want to
Oh,
get
definitely.
to it?
2
I'm trying
hours.
to squint really hard to see what it is.
Even John's like, I don't know
think
what
I
they're
know what
talking
it.
about.
I think I know what it is, though.
I'm supposed to be in on this, and I can't get it. Poor John.
Well, throw it up. Throw it up.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, I've passed by this a few times. Haven't seen it yet. So.
Okay, well, allow me to whet your appetite, John. Okay, so as much as Bodkin, which you talked about earlier, has not received any publicity and just kind of seems to have passed everybody by until you mentioned it, this is Rebel Ridge on Netflix, and this is the opposite. Because this is everywhere.
It is.
You can't go on X, you can't go online, you can't go near anything without seeing this film being reviewed and talked about and discussed by everybody. And I knew this film was coming because I had heard about some production issues that they had. And so I was waiting for this. And as soon as I saw that it had dropped, I watched it the same day. So I just had to see it. So yeah, those listening and wondering, this is Rebel Ridge on Netflix. And it's it will be in Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, 4K. I only saw it in HD because I watched it on my iPad, not having any other choice, and in spatial audio as it says on there. Because I couldn't wait, and I needed to see this film because there'd been much discussion of it, and I just could not let it go. And this is a film. The reason that it's been a little bit controversial is this movie began production. It's directed by Jeremy Saulnier. The name probably isn't familiar to you guys, but his previous movies will be. A film called Blue Ruin, and more recently, Green Room was his movie. Yeah, so someone who likes to play with genre conventions and do something different with it. So this is Jeremy Saulnier's film, and what's unusual is they started filming this and got about, I think it was, various different stories have come out, but I think they got something like a third of the way through it with John Boyega in the leading role. And the story goes, allegedly, that one day he didn't turn. Yeah, there you go. One day he didn't turn up for work. They didn't know what had happened. The production team and the director went looking for him, went to his hotel and was told, "Oh, he's checked out. He's gone." A third of the way through production. And so they had to recast it and reshoot it. And they've got this new chap that's come in to do it. Aaron, oh my God, I can't believe I've forgotten his name. Aaron Pierre, something like that. That may be wrong. Forgive me if it is. Who, as far as I was concerned, is an unknown. He has been in certain movies, but not as a lead. And he's a lead in this. And he is an absolute revelation. This movie will be his star turn and his star-making role. So the movie is, again, sounds cliche, but I promise you in Jeremy Saulnier's hands, it's not. Got a guy played by this chap here who is front and center there in the picture, who is at the beginning of the film, we find him on his way on a push bike, on his way to somewhere. He encounters police. It's a backwater Hicksville. Encounters these police who give him a bit of a roughing up, and they take money from him that is designed for his cousin's bail money. And there's a little bit of legal shenanigans then about, apparently the police, again, I'm not a lawyer in America, so I don't know, but apparently that they can seize this money, and the only way you can get it back is by suing them. And that will take longer than it is for them to then keep the money, apparently. I don't know. And so there then begins this confrontation between our lead character and the local Hick police, led by the chief, who is Don Johnson, who is in that picture as well, looking old, but he's there. There then begins this confrontation, and you realize that the local town is not quite what it seems to be, that there is corruption at every level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the movie unfolds from there. It is never less than riveting. There are some classic, instant classic scenes in this, reminiscent of Jack Reacher, because our protagonist is not who he seems to be initially either, obviously, because they never are in these movies. And there are some confrontation scenes, some sequences in this that are absolutely exceptional. Deej, you're going to love it. All right, John, you're going to really, really, really like it and may well love it as well. But Deej, there's a scene in this, and when you see it, I'll be curious to know if you can pick out which scene it was. I won't tell you which one, but there are some scenes.
It's got
in this
multiple scenes. I already like it.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's it. That's what you call a movie. But there are some scenes in this, Deej, that are going to blow. Yeah, they're going to blow your mind. I think you're going to be like, oh my god, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So this one needs to be seen by both of you, and indeed anyone listening here. It's on Netflix, so you've already paid your money. So you may as well make your time to see it. John, put it at the top of your list.
It pops up every time you open Netflix. It's the first.
Well, it's number one, I think, around the world at the moment, which I think is probably why. And it's certainly number one in the US and the UK and all that. But this is Jeremy Saulnier has never had this kind of success. I mean,
Aaron Pierre is the lead actor.
Aaron Pierre, yeah, right, there we go. Yeah, great. Okay, I thought it was. I wasn't sure.
Yep.
So he's fantastic in this. Really good. And actually, I think he works better than John Boyega. And I don't mean this in any criticism of John Boyega. Right. He's done some good stuff. But what I think that this film works better because he's an unknown to most people. I think, like I said, he's been in some stuff, but not a lot. And so you don't quite know where he's coming from and how this is going to resolve itself. You put John Boyega in the role, and you've got a guy, he's a hero. He's an action hero. You already think you know what you're getting, but this guy you don't. And so when the revelations come, I think it's got more veracity to it and it's more interesting. So I genuinely recommend this. John, see it ASAP. I mean, if you've got the time, genuinely watch it for next week. I'd love to know what you think of it. And Deej, when you can, put it to the top of your list, because you're going to, as I say, there are some scenes in this you're going to absolutely love in a Jack Reacher kind of way. You're going to be like, I love it. I just love how that unfolds. And I was thinking of you as I was watching it, and I thought, Deej is going to flip out over this in the right way. I just know it. So it's really good. In terms of home theater, now again, I only watched it iPad and AirPod Max. However, there are lots of scenes of dialogue in kind of rural America. So there are, crickets and cicadas or cicadas, I don't know what you guys would call them, buzzing, and you can hear them in the distance. You can hear them, kind of as the camera angles change. There are shootouts in this. There are some explosions. It's not an action movie in the traditional sense of the word, but there are some action beats to it, and it's never less than interesting. And like Green Room, where you had conversations that take place where the film does not pander to the audience. The movie does not, make everything make sense all the way through. There are conversations, sort of snatches of conversations that kind of are meaningful. It's really good. I mean, I can't wait to see this. If we ever get a physical release of this, it'll be one that you buy straight away. This will be like Green Room. Pick it up. But until then, all we've got is Netflix. And it is well worth seeing. Again, it's one of those movies that the hype, the promotion of this movie is justified because it's a really interesting film. And again, you wouldn't expect anything less from Jeremy Saulnier. And anyone listening, by the way, if you haven't seen Blue Ruin, which is a movie he made a couple of movies ago, that's a revenge movie told in a very unusual way. I recommend that as well. I've got the Blu-ray of that. But yeah, so this one though, Rebel Ridge, very, very interesting and well worth seeing. And again, like Inside Out 2, I can't wait to see what you two make of this, because I think you're going to be very, very pleasantly surprised. So yeah, do see them when you can.
Yeah, I'll try to get it in for next week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have it for next week for sure.
Yeah, John, I mean, I can't wait to see what you think of it. I really can't. Because you like Reacher as well, don't you? You like Jack Reacher and those kind of. Yeah. So in a different kind of way, you're getting something similar here, but in an interesting way. So yeah, good. Okay, I can't wait to see what you make of it.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to that. I'd like to say that I'll definitely see it, but then when something ends up happening, you're like, sorry. So like, I'll try.
Well, I can almost 100% say I'll definitely see it.
Yeah.
Unless my internet goes out for the next 7 days.
Yeah.
They'll just reenact it.
Yeah, I'll watch it on my phone.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that we'll talk and discuss ad nauseum. There's so much going on in this movie. again, I can't wait to talk to you guys about it, because and as I said, Deej, if you can fit this in, it's worth moving this to the top of your list, because again, your Reacher fandom will be triggered by this, but with some extra realism thrown in.
Oh.
Fights in this are not kind of over the top and silly. The fights in this are done in a way that is fascinating. I don't want to ruin it for you. So it's
and the
great.
moon doesn't scrape the earth, so we're good there too.
Well, we can see how we go. we can do an alternate version. That's Rebel Moon, not Rebel Ridge.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, it's great.
Cool.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna wrap up with this one really quickly because we're coming. I know Steve has got to get to bed so he can have another amazing day tomorrow with little sleep. So let's bring this one up. I've seen the first episode of The Rings of Power, season 2. That's what I was able to get in this week. And I just wanted to comment on it and echo like everything that John said about the production quality. It is stunning. It is, I mean, and I hate to say it that way, especially for Amazon, because your expectations are so low for them. If this was Apple TV, you'd be like, it still is stunning. You'd be like, that's the way it goes. If this was Netflix, you'd be like, that's the way it is. Even HBO or Max now has upped their game to the point that it's not as surprising when you watch something and go like we watched House of the Dragon, and you're like, wow, that looks amazing. But here on Amazon, it's like the sound, the audio, I should say, the 4K, it just looks stunning. And like John said, it's like right out of the features. You feel like you're back there, and you're right. I loved, not the wrap up, but the previously on.
Yeah, it was they did a good job.
Yeah, they really did.
Bringing you current.
Yeah, and that made it like a must see for me after you saying that it was that good, because you're like the entire like Lord of the Rings story is so overwhelming that just that series, and now you're like, oh, it can be a little overwhelming if you haven't. You're like, oh, I got to get into the second season. I barely remember the first season right now. I was like, what am I going to be lost? Because I've seen Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, how many times, and I'm still like, oh my God, I just figured that out from the story. So yeah, and I love where the story's going, and the characters. It gets you right into it, and there's some stuff in there that you're just like, oh, it's very, very interesting what they've done. But yeah, the home theater part of it, it's can we get this on physical someday?
Oh, I hope.
We
do. I'd buy it.
Yeah.
It's the wrong company for that, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they gave us Reacher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I suppose if you spent $1 billion on just the rights, I suppose you've got to monetize it in every way that you can.
Actually, they've given us Reacher and Jack Ryan. They give us more physical than anybody, actually.
Right.
As far as this stuff goes.
But they were produced, but they weren't produced by Amazon, though, were they? That was like Paramount and whoever else it was. So this is their own baby, and I mean, I'd like to think they'd monetize it, but I
hope they spent $1 billion, like TJ said, they spent $1 billion on it, or
just to get the rights.
And
just the rights, never mind the production after the fact and everything. So hopefully they will try to, cash in on every penny, and that every penny is us. Give me this in physical at home.
In episode 4, man, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it, but we get a character that book readers have been wanting for decades.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
nice.
Not
being a book reader of it, maybe I'm
yeah, definitely book readers have been looking for this character. So
cool. Let's see. Jordan saying in the chat, it's like it was announced today, Rings of Power season 2 has already become one of Prime's most watched seasons with 40 million views in just 11 days. So, wow. Well, they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah, and everything I've heard about this show has been nothing but even people that were very cold on season 1 have had nothing but good things to say about season 2. So
yeah. Although again, unfortunately the poor reviewer on Amazon for Empire, who follows me on Twitter, who put out a very positive review of the first. She'd seen, I think, the first 5 of these because, of course, they had screeners.
Yeah.
And she put out a positive review and was absolutely torn apart by misogynistic a-holes
I don't count those
on
guys
X
anymore because they're not
yeah,
serious.
well, quite. So
Because
really
when
sorry
I
for
say
it.
nothing but positive, I have seen those too, but I don't even consider.
Yeah,
them.
and rightly so. Yeah, rightly so. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. I'm saving this for when I get back. There's someone with whom I need to watch this. That we watched the first series and really enjoyed it. And
you will want to see it on your setup.
Exactly that. Yeah, because we won't have time to rewatch season 1. But if there's a previously on that's good, then that's great news, and we can then just jump straight into this. Because can't wait. So that'll be good. I look forward to that.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. And like even Van Gool saying in the chat, he goes, I've seen 3 episodes and I agree on the production of the show. I am enjoying it. So, and it is fun when when they put that level of production into stuff, because that's the stuff that we enjoy, and we are such a small percentage of the population, but yet it's like, I mean, it really is for us.
Yeah.
Most people aren't taking advantage of it like we are. So it's pretty cool.
And Jordan did say in chat that the shows that did get physical releases were both either Sony or Paramount. They weren't Amazon original. So it takes a little bit of the the hope out of it, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, there's more money to be made there, and everybody else is getting back into physical. They're ramping up their all the other production companies or studios are getting back into it. We
wouldn't see physical until all 5 seasons are done, right? And we'll probably get like a complete series.
Well, but again, you'd be thinking, wouldn't you, if Amazon? I mean, they're not allergic to money, one would hope.
True.
So you'd like to think, you release. No, well, you release each season on 4K, then you do your 5th season, and then reissue them again. And you'll all see
everybody else does it.
Yeah, well, quite. There must be the interest out there. If as Jordan says, there were 40 million views in 11 days. 1% of that would make them. If 1% of that bought the box set, bought the physical version of that, then there's money to be made there that would make it worthwhile. You would think. But who knows? The vagaries of business, eh?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Wrap up there. Anybody else have anything else?
No, done and done.
All right. There we go. Another quick show. I know we started a little late, but damn, it flies by. I looked up, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So thank you everybody in the chat. Everybody, all Patreon supporters, people buying boxes of popcorn, thank you very much. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for all the emails. I will be getting back to Takeover Tuesdays soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I am actually starting to miss it more, especially after CEDIA and talking with a bunch of them. Like, I gotta get him. I gotta talk to these people. Oh my God, such and such. Yeah. So really looking forward to it. And, but yeah, keep the emails coming. Even though if I don't reply or whatever, it's like I am reading them all. And the encouragements, the comments about movies that you're watching, I'm seeing them. So yeah, really appreciate it, everybody. But that'll do it for this week. And so, where is it? Oh, see how I can't do anything smoothly anymore. What do you got to do?
Go push play. What he said.
I guess that's right.
Hey, Fred.
This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.